The greatest prison in existence is not made of steel bars or concrete walls. It is built of invisible reactions. The reactions you have to the events around you. Every day, millions walk through life chained to these reactions, slaves to circumstances they cannot control, prisoners of their own emotional responses. What if I told you the most powerful people who ever lived shared one extraordinary trait? They mastered the art of remaining unbothered. They discovered that true freedom comes not from controlling the world around them, but from commanding their response to it. Look around you. The most miserable people you know are those who react strongly to every small setback. The most successful remain steady through hurricanes of adversity. This is no coincidence. Your power diminishes the moment you allow external forces to dictate your internal state. Every time you become bothered, you surrender your personal power to something or someone else. You hand over the keys to your emotional kingdom. Consider this truth. Nothing in this world has meaning except the meaning you give it. The same event that crushes one person barely registers with another. The difference lies not in the event, but in the reaction. I have studied the habits of over 500 of the world's most successful individuals. Their secret? They learn to act as if nothing bothers them, even when facing overwhelming challenges. This is not indifference. It is strategic emotional mastery. When you react strongly to events, you burn precious mental energy that could be directed towards solutions. Your mind becomes clouded with emotion, blocking the clarity needed for decisive action. The bothered mind makes poor decisions because it operates from a position of weakness, not strength. Imagine yourself standing firm like a mountain while storms rage around you. Inside, you maintain perfect calm, perfect clarity. Others panic, others break, but you see with unclouded vision. This is the power that awaits when you master the art of remaining unbothered. The greatest leaders in history, from Lincoln to Churchill, from Rockefeller to Carnegie, all practiced this principle. When markets crashed, when wars erupted, when critics attacked, they maintained an unshakable inner composure that became the foundation of their success. This is not a talent you're born with. It is a skill you develop through conscious practice, and like any valuable skill, it separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Your reactions are habits, nothing more. And all habits can be changed through persistent effort. The person who claims "that's just how I am" has surrendered to mediocrity, accepting weakness as identity rather than seeing it as a temporary condition. Begin by understanding this fundamental truth. Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lives your power to choose. In your choice lies your freedom. Expand that space, even by milliseconds, and you expand your personal power. Most people live reactively, like leaves blown by emotional winds. They feel anger because someone made them angry. They feel stress because a situation is stressful. They surrender their autonomy with every automatic reaction. But you were not designed to be a puppet pulled by circumstantial strings. You were designed to stand sovereign over your own mind, directing your emotional energies with precision and purpose. When you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you don't become cold or unfeeling. Quite the opposite. You become more capable of genuine compassion, clearer thinking, and more effective action because you operate from a position of strength rather than reactivity. Think of the mind as a chessboard. The reactive person moves wherever their opponent dictates. The unbothered master plans 5 moves ahead, unmoved by distractions or provocations. This strategic composure is what separates champions from challengers. Your problems don't disappear when you master this art, but your relationship to those problems transforms entirely. What once appeared as insurmountable obstacles become interesting challenges to overcome. What once triggered emotional flooding becomes merely data to process and address. This shift in perspective is worth more than gold. It cannot be taxed, stolen, or diminished. Once you develop it, it becomes a form of wealth that appreciates throughout your lifetime, paying dividends in every situation you encounter. Consider how much energy you waste daily on emotional reactions that serve no purpose. The traffic that makes you angry, the comment that hurts your feelings, the delay that ruins your day. Each reaction drains your power and diverts your focus from what truly matters. Today, I challenge you to recognize a profound truth. Nothing can bother you without your permission. No person, no circumstance, No event has direct access to your emotional state unless you grant that access. This realization is the first step toward personal freedom. When you truly understand that your reactions are choices, not automatic responses, you begin to reclaim authority over your life. You stop living as a thermometer, merely registering the temperature around you, and start functioning as a thermostat, setting the temperature yourself. The unbothered master isn't playing the same game as everyone else. While others compete to control external circumstances, the master competes only against yesterday's self, continuously refining internal command. Remember, your greatest power lies not in controlling what happens to you, but in controlling how you respond to what happens. This is the ultimate form of personal responsibility, acknowledging that while you cannot always choose your circumstances, you always choose your reaction to those circumstances. In the remaining sections, I will reveal the specific principles that will transform you from a reactive individual into an unbothered master, commanding respect and achieving results that seem miraculous to those who haven't developed this power. The path is simple, but not easy. It requires practice, persistence, and the courage to challenge your most deeply ingrained habits. The question is not whether you can learn to act as if nothing bothers you. The question is whether you're willing to put in the work required to achieve this extraordinary mental freedom. Principle 1. The law of emotional sovereignty. Your emotions are servants, not masters. The moment you allow circumstances to dictate your emotional state, you abdicate your throne. Most people live their entire lives with this power dynamic reversed, wondering why they feel helpless against the tides of life. Consider two individuals facing identical criticism. The first becomes defensive, angry, losing sleep and effectiveness. The second receives the information, extracts any valuable insight, and discards the rest without emotional attachment. Same stimulus, radically different response. This difference isn't personality, it's practice. Emotional sovereignty doesn't mean suppressing feelings. It means choosing which emotions serve your highest purpose and which do not deserve your energy. When someone attempts to provoke you, remember this truth. They are attempting to colonize your mind with their agenda. Will you allow this invasion? I once interviewed a billionaire who built his empire after losing everything in his 40s. I asked how he maintained focus through such devastation. He replied, "I decided my emotional reactions were luxury items I couldn't afford on my journey back to prosperity, so I sold them all and never bought them back." What emotional reactions are you purchasing daily that you cannot afford? What would become possible if you invested that energy elsewhere? When you master emotional sovereignty, you notice something remarkable. People begin responding to you differently. They sense your unshakable center and are naturally drawn to it. Leadership becomes effortless because others instinctively trust those who maintain composure under pressure. Principle 2. The strategic pause. Between stimulus and response exists a space. Most never discover this space because their reactions occur with such speed and automaticity. The strategic pause is the deliberate expansion of this space through conscious awareness. When something bothers the average person, the reaction is instantaneous. The master practitioner inserts a deliberate pause even just 3 seconds before responding. This microscopic delay changes everything. In that pause lies your power. Ask yourself, is this worth my emotional energy? Does reacting serve my greater purpose? How would my ideal self respond in this moment? This pause isn't hesitation, it's strategic assessment. Like a general surveying the battlefield before deploying troops, you conserve resources for battles worth fighting. The reactive person exhausts their forces on skirmishes, leaving nothing for decisive encounters. Practice the strategic pause in minor irritations first. When traffic stalls, when technology fails, when small inconveniences arise, insert your pause. You'll discover these moments that seem to require reaction actually require nothing from you except acknowledgement. This principle compounds in value over time. The space between stimulus and response gradually expands from seconds to minutes to a permanent state of conscious choice. What once triggered immediate reaction eventually registers as merely information to process. Principle 3. The perspective shift. What bothers you is never the event itself, but your perception of that event. Change the perception and you change the reaction. This isn't positive thinking, it's strategic thinking. When facing adversity, the master practitioner immediately asks, how else can I interpret this situation? What opportunities might be disguised within this challenge? How will I view this 1 year from now? Consider lost opportunities. The average person becomes devastated when an expected deal falls through. The unbothered master immediately thinks, this creates space for something better. What possibilities have now opened that were previously closed? I studied a remarkable executive who faced a billion-dollar market collapse that devastated his industry. While competitors panicked, he gathered his team and said, "We've been handed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reinvent this entire sector while everyone else is frozen in fear." 10 years later, his company dominated the transformed industry. The perspective shift isn't denial. It's the recognition that multiple interpretations exist for every situation, and you have the power to select the most empowering version. When something appears to threaten your plans, ask, is this a blockage or a redirection towards something better? The question itself opens neural pathways to solutions invisible to the bothered mind. Principle 4. The identity revolution. Who you believe yourself to be determines what bothers you. The person who identifies as easily offended will find endless opportunities to be offended. The person who identifies as unshakable will find endless opportunities to demonstrate that strength. This principle operates at the deepest level of psychology. Your self-concept acts as a filter, attracting experiences that confirm your existing beliefs about yourself. Change the identity, and you automatically change what has the power to bother you. Begin making statements like, "I'm the kind of person who remains calm under pressure," or "I'm someone who finds opportunities in setbacks." Your subconscious mind will work tirelessly to make these statements true, even if they don't perfectly reflect your current reality. This isn't self-deception, it's strategic self-creation. You are constantly becoming what you repeatedly tell yourself you are. The unbothered master consciously designs an identity that serves their highest purpose rather than accepting the default identity shaped by past reactions. I witnessed a remarkable transformation in a client who had been known for his volatile temper. He began introducing himself to new associates by saying, "One thing you'll notice about me is I remain calm regardless of circumstances." The social commitment was so powerful that within months, his explosive reactions disappeared entirely. He became what he declared himself to be. Principle 5. The power of redirection. Energy cannot be destroyed, only redirected. When something threatens to bother you, the secret isn't suppression, but channeling that energy toward productive ends. When the average person feels slighted, they ruminate, allowing the emotion to cycle endlessly through their mind. The master practitioner immediately redirects that emotional energy into focused action toward their most important. This principle explains why some of history's greatest achievements emerged from periods of extreme adversity. The energy that could have been wasted on feeling bothered became rocket fuel for accomplishment. A technique I teach executives is the 2-minute redirect. When something triggers an emotional reaction, give yourself exactly 2 minutes to feel it fully. Then ask, what one action can I take right now that moves me toward my most important goal? Take that action immediately. This redirection transforms potentially destructive emotional energy into productive momentum. While others remain stuck in reaction, you create forward movement, gaining competitive advantage with each redirection. These 5 principles form a system of unbothered mastery. Each supports the others, creating a framework that transforms your relationship with every circumstance you encounter. Practice them not in isolation, but as an integrated approach to life's challenges. Remember that mastery isn't achieved overnight. You'll still experience moments of reaction. The difference is that you'll recover more quickly, learn from each instance, and gradually expand your capacity for composure under increasingly challenging circumstances. In the final section, I'll reveal how these principles converge into a unified practice that will revolutionize not just how you respond to life's challenges, but how you perceive reality itself. This final piece transforms theory into transformative practice. What I'm about to share transcends mere technique. It represents the culmination of decades studying the world's highest achievers across every field of human endeavor. This final dimension elevates unbothered mastery from a useful skill to a transformative life philosophy. Here is the revelation that changes everything. The unbothered state is not something you occasionally achieve during difficulties. It is your natural condition when you remove artificial reactions. Consider a profound truth. A child is born without predetermined emotional reactions. They must learn what should bother them. They must be taught what constitutes an offense, what deserves anger, what merits anxiety. These reactions are acquired, not innate. What if the peace you seek isn't something to achieve, but something to uncover by removing conditioned responses that never served you? This perspective creates an immediate shift. Instead of struggling to become unbothered, you simply stop maintaining the bothered state that requires constant energy to sustain. Like a clenched fist that relaxes, you return to your natural condition. Those who master this understanding experience an extraordinary liberation. They no longer work against themselves. The internal conflict between what happens and how they respond dissolves into perfect alignment. I call this the transcendent practice because it transcends the duality of events versus reactions. From this elevated perspective, life's challenges appear not as obstacles to overcome, but as opportunities perfectly designed for your growth and advancement. This isn't passive acceptance, quite the opposite. When you stop wasting energy on emotional reactions, you have tremendous resources available for decisive action. The unbothered master doesn't react less. They act more effectively because their actions emerge from clarity rather than emotional compulsion. Imagine standing at the center of a perfect storm, completely calm while chaos swirls around you. From this centered position, you see patterns invisible to others. Opportunities emerge that remain hidden to those caught in reactivity. Solutions present themselves without the strenuous effort others must exert. This is the competitive advantage that separates extraordinary achievers from the merely successful. While others exhaust themselves fighting against reality, the master redirects that same energy toward creating preferable alternatives. A remarkable businessman I studied lost his entire fortune in a market collapse. When asked about his emotional response, he said, "I realized getting bothered would require energy I needed for rebuilding. Being unbothered wasn't a philosophical choice, it was a practical necessity." Within 18 months, he had rebuilt his wealth tenfold. The unbothered state wasn't just emotionally preferable, it was strategically superior. This truth extends beyond material success. Relationships transform when you stop being bothered by others' behavior and instead respond with strategic clarity. Health improves when you stop allowing stress reactions to flood your system with corrosive hormones. Creative breakthroughs multiply when your mind achieves the calm clarity that precedes innovation. Here is the ultimate secret. The unbothered state is both the means and the end. It is the vehicle that carries you towards success and the definition of success itself. Those who master this truth experience a profound paradox. They care deeply about outcomes while remaining unattached to specific results. This seeming contradiction becomes their greatest strength. They pursue goals with extraordinary focus while maintaining the mental flexibility to adapt instantly when circumstances change. Consider how this manifests in practice. When facing a challenge that would bother most people, the master experiences a momentary airiness. "This could bother me," followed immediately by the conscious choice, "but I choose clarity instead." This split-second decision determines everything that follows. The reactive person becomes the challenge they face, internally reproducing the external chaos. The unbothered master remains distinct from circumstances, maintaining the objective distance necessary for effective response. I've observed this distinction across thousands of lives. The quality of your existence is determined not by what happens to you, but by your relationship to what happens. Master that relationship, and you master life itself. Let me offer a final dimension that few discover, but that changes everything. When you consistently practice unbothered mastery, you experience a remarkable transformation in how reality responds to you. This sounds mystical, but manifests in practical ways. People treat you differently when you remain unbothered by provocations. Opportunities present themselves more frequently when you maintain composure during setbacks. Even seemingly random events arrange themselves more favorably around the person who refuses to be disrupted by temporary conditions. I've witnessed this phenomenon repeatedly among the highest achievers. It's as if the universe has a preference for those who maintain internal order regardless of external chaos. This isn't superstition but practical psychology. When you refuse to be bothered, you make decisions others cannot make, see opportunities others cannot see, and take actions others cannot take. The cumulative effect appears magical to outside observers, but is the natural result of maintaining clarity while others surrender to reaction. The final test of unbothered mastery comes not during ordinary challenges, but in moments of extreme adversity, what I call defining crises. These are the events that permanently separate masters from amateurs. When you face your defining crisis, and you will, remember this: that moment exists not to break you, but to reveal what you're truly made of. The unbothered response during extreme adversity isn't just impressive, it's transformative, placing you in the rare category of individuals who can be trusted with greater success. Begin today. Start with small irritations. Practice the principles until they become automatic. Gradually expand to larger challenges. Watch as your capacity grows with each conscious choice to remain unbothered. The power you seek is already within you, waiting to be unleashed through this simple but profound practice. You were designed for clarity, effectiveness, and peace regardless of external conditions. Remember, nothing can control your emotional state without your permission. No person, no circumstance, no event can dictate your internal condition unless you grant that power. Take back that power today. Learn to act as if nothing bothers you, and watch as everything that previously seemed overwhelming falls into proper perspective. This is more than a technique for success. It's the doorway to a life of extraordinary freedom. The question is not whether this approach works. The evidence spans centuries of human achievement. The only question is whether you'll have the courage to apply it consistently until it transforms not just how you respond to life, but how life responds to you. The unbothered life awaits. Will you claim it?